Next season, the NBA should prove to be a fun one for many different reasons. With multiple teams like the Clippers, 76ers, Nuggets, and Bucks hopefully being healthy again, and just the overall strength of teams improving, the road to a title is going to become much more difficult. Because of this, here are 8 NBA players who I believe have the most to prove in the 2022-2023 NBA season. Alright, so to begin with, I'm saying Jalen Suggs. After an extremely disappointing rookie season after being picked 5th overall above players such as Josh Giddey and his own teammate Franz Wagner and Herb Jones, just to name a few, Jalen has to come out and make a splash to prove that he was deserving of that pick last year. Although he was fairly impressive defensively, his underwhelming offense and efficiency overshadowed how good he was defensively, which made him not look like he was deserving of being picked top 5. Unfortunately for him, the Magic have so many guards on the roster, Suggs will have to prove himself worthy of playing time over players such as Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz, who both had better seasons than him last year in my opinion. Markelle doing it in 7 less minutes than Suggs, and also showing some flashes of why he was the first overall pick back in 2017. The Magic will most likely start trying to solidify their rotation this year and come to the end of a rebuild after the pick of Paolo Banchero first overall in this year's draft. And if Suggs wants to be part of that rotation, he really has to improve his offensive game. At number 7, I have Ben Simmons. After sitting out the entirety of last season and forcing his way out of Philadelphia, Simmons has to show the Nets he is worth a player the level of James Harden, which he was traded for, or at least return to an all-defensive level. I think it's very likely that he'll do so because there's no reason he shouldn't. But if he doesn't, this could prove to be one of the worst trades that we've seen in the NBA in the past decade. And Nets fans will not be happy. And with Ben Simmons' fragile ego and just mental state, I don't really know how good this would be for the Nets as a whole. My 6th pick, I chose Paolo Banchero. For Paolo, it's really nothing more than just being the first overall pick and showing that he deserved to be the first overall pick. From what we saw in Summer League, I think he most likely will do this and then some. But as we've seen in the past, players playing in the Summer League doesn't really indicate how they'll succeed in the NBA. But I think it's more likely that he'll show that he deserves the first overall pick after what we saw from the other 2 picks in the Summer League and the fact that Chet is out for the season now. So it's really just his award to lose. At number 5, I have Jason Tatum. Tatum led his team to the NBA Finals last year, but the playoff run was very far from perfect. To get to the finals, they played the Nets, who were missing Ben Simmons, the Bucks, who were missing Middleton, and the Heat, who missed just a multitude of players throughout the series. They were brought to 7 against the Heat and the Bucks and were incapable of stopping Giannis and Jimmy throughout the series, even though they had the better defense and one of the best defenses in the past decade. Tatum also recorded the most turnovers in the playoff run and had a very underwhelming finals, looking like a second option behind his teammate Jaylen Brown, who exceeded expectations. I don't think there's much to worry about though, as Tatum is only 24 and not even in his prime while putting up these numbers and leading his team to an NBA Finals. So he has more than enough time to prove that he can be a number 1 option on a championship team, but until he does, people will use this playoff run to discredit how good Tatum actually is. Now that his second and third options, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are back, Jokic is expected to lead the Nuggets as a contender in the West, and if he is unable to do that, it will leave a stain on his legacy and resume, and people will discredit his MVPs. Jokic also just received the biggest extension in league history, $270 million, which is just an insane amount of money. And if he doesn't prove to be worth that money, then it will just put the Nuggets in a bad situation if he can't lead them and be their number 1 option. But the chances of that happening is very low, as we all know how good Jokic is. Number 3 is Bradley Beal. Beal just signed the second largest contract of all time and will be getting paid $50 million over a 5-year period. Beal will be getting paid like a superstar. Well, maybe being a top 20 player in the league. Big maybe top 2025. But most likely won't ever be a superstar, and I don't believe he'll score at the level he has done in the past. So this could prove to be the worst contract of all time if Beal doesn't somehow make another leap at his age, and he's nearing the end of his prime. So I really don't know what the Wizards were doing, and Beal has to just become like a top 10 player in the league to warrant this amount of money. Number 2 is Zion Williamson. After only playing a combined 85 games during the first 3 years in the league due to injury, he really just has to stay on the floor. When he plays, Zion is an All-NBA talent and could even be in discussions for MVPs, but it's the lack of playing that is the problem. We've seen countless careers be derailed because of injuries, and sadly, Zion is kind of taking the same path. If Zion can't even play 60 games this year, I don't know if we should be worried, but I would be fairly worried because that is just not a good outlook for your first overall pick. I believe he will play 60 games this year as he got an entire year to rest off, but it's Zion. The way he plays, he could get hurt in an instant, or his body just can't take the stress anymore. So I'm not really sure what's the deal with him, but Zion just has to play. For number 1, we have Russell Westbrook. After being the biggest disappointment in the entire NBA last year, it's sad to say Russ is no longer a star in the league, and definitely showed why that's a fact last year. Russ needs to improve on literally everything and prove he's still a star or capable of his role, or just leading a bench unit, or just switching his entire role to be a spot-up shooter for LeBron and AD, which is extremely unlikely, but he's getting paid like an all-star, superstar level player and really doesn't deserve that money. Anyway, those are my picks for the top 8 players who have something to prove in the NBA season. If you disagree with any of my picks, please leave it in the comments. I'd appreciate if you liked and subscribe as it helps the channel. And yeah, see you next time.